changes to the agenda are, we may have a possible executive session after item number 2. For, David, am I supposed to call out something special? Before
First, I can't see the board on video. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but there is, when you, at the beginning of a meeting, you may add items to the agenda. Typically that's done with the chair directing it and a motion approved by the board. So in this case, I would recommend that the board add as new item number 3, an executive session to discuss pending litigation to which the town is a party under 1 VSA 313A1E.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I can see the board too. Thanks.
I'll have that in a minute.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to make that motion, Susan?
Sure.
Can we add that?
Yeah, whatever
Okay.
you just said. I'm
Okay, okay. Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Okay, and Mary, did you want to speak?
Yes, just in the public comment thing,
Sure.
I'm not on the agenda, I'm here for not in Hyde Park. And I've just, it seems like you guys have serious business to do tonight, so I won't go through my whole list. I
Okay.
just wanted to flag with you that I'm feeling behind and I need to get caught up about, getting ready for the season. And if we're going to do a permit for the pilot program plus the grant that we have going, that deadline is the 1st of April. So I'm going to need to come and get that permit signed. And I've got a couple of other issues that I'm going to need help with for this season.
Mhm.
But since you have a very full thing, I will leave that till the next meeting.
Yeah,
I wanted to make
you're
sure
on the
that you
agenda.
knew that I'm here and I have
We
things I
appreciate
need
that.
from you.
Okay, I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank
Yeah,
you
and
very
let
much.
me know about tomorrow, Mary.
Yep, we'll do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Harrison, come on up.
Sure.
So just to give you a little rundown, ladies, Jim is coming to us to express what he's looking for in his litigation that he's in right now.
This is the sand and gravel, right?
Correct. This is for the Morrisville Sand and Gravel. So
Good evening. I'm up to bat.
yes, you are.
So Jim Harrison here, Harrison Concrete, sort of, and tonight, Mrs. Morrisville Sand and Gravel coming at you. Family owned business on Garfield Road, and I brought this map along just for giggles, if anybody wants to look at it, just so I can express where things are now and where we came from, stuff like that. So I don't know how much of this you want me to go over with you, but maybe we'll just reflect a little bit on a page or two. So back in the day, we purchased this old Furlan pit right here, the middle one. This one on the edge here is the Hyde Park pit.
Yeah.
This is Furlan and this is Emerson. So,
Okay.
so back in the day, 2017, I believe we purchased this pit from the Menashes, the Furlan pit. It was an existing operation that been in place since probably the early 80s. Sand and gravel extraction, processing, screening, crushing, washing, whatever. So we purchased that as an existing operation. And something else that's sort of key, and it'll come up later, but is that was in place operating well before the zoning and permitting came to light in Morrisville. So it had some history prior to. They operated year round, and actually, given in the winter months, you can't really do screening and washing and crushing. So basically in the winter, they would remove product from stockpiles as needed and take it wherever. So, and there's a solar project that the Monashes did up on the corner up there, the good size. So given that, from the 80s to 2017, like I said, they operated that situation right there. We purchased it 2017. And we operated similar situation, extracted, screen, wash, whatever, during the summer months and during the winter. For 5 years, we hauled product as needed from stockpiles in the winter time to 2022 or thereabouts.
Were there any permits on it when you bought it?
I think there might have been a permit from 1995. I don't know if Chris would know that or.
Yeah, I believe there was an Act 250 permit,
Okay.
yeah, from 95. But that sounds right. If not, it's thereabouts.
I think it was somewhere around there.
Okay.
Did Chris hear me?
Yep, he's on there.
Yeah, I heard you.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine, that's fine.
There was also a town permit that had been issued back in, when was that? 1995 as well. There was a DRB decision back in 1995.
So moving ahead, a few years ago, the DRB, for whatever reason, had taken our Saturday hours to operate away from us. And we were headed to court to get those back. And for whatever or however reason, the select board got involved and settled this before it got to court. So we were pretty happy to.
Is there anything in the Act 250 permit about hours or size or anything? Usually there's something in an Act.
No, I think
250
there
permit.
is, there's hours of operation and then, operation, basically from December, it might have been in November back then, December 1st maybe, or to April 15th, whatever. During the winter situation, the hours of operation or the operation is basically. I'll go over that a little bit, but
Okay.
it's limited to basically access, and it's sort of questionable,
Sort
but
of weather dependent.
oh yeah, definitely
Okay,
weather
so-
dependent, but it's also a situation where you can't run processing equipment anyway. So basically, like the Monashes did, we did the same thing. We just trucked product out.
Right,
That's all we
okay.
did.
And were there hours on the rest of the year?
I believe there
Like
is. I believe there is.
Okay.
And Saturday hours are just mornings.
I believe it's 7 AM to 5 PM, Monday through Friday, and then just till noon. on
Noon on
Saturday.
Saturdays, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and not to interrupt Jim, but he has his own Act 250 permit now,
Right.
and
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but anyway, so we got our Saturday hours back, which was great, and we moved on. A couple, few years ago, another situation came up. And we had our winter access. I don't know how it happened, but we had our winter access taken away from us, and basically, I'm quite sure the verbiage was that we had no access nor emergency access through the winter.
yeah, it's the exact word. No access nor emergency access.
And we didn't really think that was legal, maybe. We do pay taxes on it. And, but anyway, given that, we appealed a situation. And I got a bunch of notes down here. The appeal in place only relates to access in the Monash pit during the winter to load sand and gravel that was stockpiled previously. There's no excavation, screening or processing, just occasional trucks going in, coming out. Normally, there's employees that don't stay there. The truck driver drives in, loads his own truck, out he goes. So that's just occasional or as needed, weather related, whatever. So this has been done for decades in the Monash pit by ourselves and Monash, obviously before us. So what, we purchased the Emerson pit, a few years back. And this pit is an older pit that was operated years ago by the Emerson family. There's a spring right there where people water up, and at that entrance is right across the road from that. So I'll talk about it here, but we permitted a new entrance for this operation because over the years, there was some serious complaining about trucks going up there, turning, coming into the pit and leaving that way. Everything goes down Garfield, goes up Garfield. So by moving this entrance down here, we don't go by any of those houses. There's a neighborhood right there, and this Tom Bjorky lives right there, and Emerson's live up there. So, but by doing that, we changed the situation where the trucks are gonna go in and go out. So when we got a permit for the new access further down Garfield, we didn't think it had anything to do with existing operations in the Monash pit. In other words, we thought the entrance was related strictly to getting into the Emersons over into the Furland pit. So we moved the access down Garfield Road to have less impact on the neighbors, like I said. And we had history in here that's been presented at the court case where the neighbors, or Tom Bierke especially, had emailed Stephen or texted Stephen to the effect that the new operation was so quiet they couldn't even hear our trucks leaving. So, which was great. It's what we tried to do. So, like I said, that's been presented in court. It's history there. When we found out that some were taking the position we were now prohibited from accessing stockpiles in the winter, we filed an application to clarify. The DRB denied our application for winter access, so we appealed. Some neighbors initially appeared in the appeal process. In other words, the court case. There was some of those neighbors that were on it with the town. And as we went to court, I don't know, a couple weeks ago maybe, and the neighbors, none of those neighbors showed up. So I think, I'm quite sure, I don't know if Chris can verify, but I'm pretty sure the court or the judge removed the neighbors from the case. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, there was an order by the judge at the end of the trial that since the neighbors did not participate in a meaningful manner and did not show up for the trial, that they were dismissed from the appeal. So the only parties left at that point were Mooresville Sand and Gravel and the town.
Jim, if I could just interrupt you for a second. Just a little more background. In February of 2024, Jim asked to cut a berm through from the Emerson pit. So the DRB granted him a waiver to cut through that berm and do that activity during the winter months.
But then they took it away, obviously.
No, it was just a one-time waiver for that one.
For the construction.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he's
gotcha.
got access.
Yeah, so that, and he improved the road and cut through the berm,
Yep.
making the two pits connected.
Together, right, okay.
I did.
Yeah, sorry, I just.
No.
This guy
No, no.
reports, so I decided.
No.
Yeah.
So, if you can see what we've done here, this is to get ready for that court case that we've had one appearance before. I don't think I'm gonna express what it's cost to get to this point. It's a fair amount of money. And, all we're trying to do is continue the same occasional winter access that's been going on since the late 80s. And now with this new entrance down there, the situation with the neighbors is a whole lot different. At least we feel it is, and hopefully they do too, you know. I don't know if that's why they didn't show up at court. I don't know that, but anyway. So it's at this time, what we're just trying to get is for the parties that were in court to get a 60-day timeout in a closet, so to speak, so we can possibly negotiate a resolution that would serve everybody. So that's what we're thinking.
Now, Jim, do you have a specific proposal of what you're looking for?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if the parties are amicable to engaging in discussions, that we'd keep the specific terms between council at this time and not discuss them in an open meeting until such time as the board's ready and an agreement is reached.
If one other thing, if I can add, we're permitted to remove 75,000 cubic yards per year from the Berlin pit. And we document all these loads. We have to for AOT insurance and Stephen and the rest, everybody.
Everybody else.
No, but we do. And so right now we're permitted for 75,000 cubic yards. And last year, 24, we were hair under 50,000 for the total year. So we have an awful lot of room that is available going forward, but we self-serve, we take our own product, we don't sell much, so we just want to make sure we stay under the 75, and we've got a long ways to go. So, you know, at least wanted the board to know that we're not maxing out our situation.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Jim? Any thoughts? No?
So it's now between the town and
We can decide that. Do you wish to go into executive session and we can discuss?
I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to figure out. I'm still back here.
To pause
I got the
litigation.
pause, right, but I'm
And
not
then-
quite sure what the litigation is yet. Sort of think I know, but I'm not sure.
I think we should go into
I can
executive
help.
session.
I can help with that when we get to the executive session, certainly.
Then, let's go to executive session so
Okay.
people can help Susan figure out what's happening.
So because I'm just gonna, before we
Yeah.
make the motion, you don't have to leave. Because Justin's not here and I'm not really good with the technical, we're gonna excuse ourselves upstairs for executive session. And we're gonna call Matt and David and then we'll step back down in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's,
This is the old fashioned way of
Okay.
doing it.
I know it's the old fashioned way, exactly. So that way you guys don't have to go anywhere.
Second of this.
Oh,
I did.
One of us in.
so Matt, one of us will call you, okay?
Sounds good.
So make sure we take the phones. Okay.
Yeah.
So before the board goes into executive session, I think it needs to entertain a couple of motions in accordance with the executive session statute. So I don't want you to run away real quick without considering these. I think the board first needs to make a motion that premature general public knowledge of the attorney-client privileged and confidential advice that we will that it will receive an executive session would place the town at a substantial disadvantage because it risks disclosure of trial and litigation strategy.
So moved. Okay.
It's already in litigation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you get that, Savannah? Okay,
Yeah, it basically, it's privileged, so that.
right,
You get to go into executive session, you have to
Yeah, I know
have
what it
a,
means.
a reason.
yeah.
Okay,
No.
can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, abstained, okay. Perfect.
And then the board needs to make a motion, now that that one is passed, to enter executive session to discuss pending litigation to which the town is a party, inviting the town attorney and zoning administrator into that session.
The board going to executive session, inviting that the town is in pending litigation
Mhm.
with the town attorney and the zoning administrator.
I'll second it.
Okay.
That
All
way I
those-
can get out.
There you go. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Sorry.
Opposed, abstained. We'll be right back.
Famous last words, right? Remember, you're being recorded.
Oh, not bad.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt, remember to mute yourself.
Okay, I'm gonna open back up to the public meeting. And do we have a motion for action for executive session? Oh, my notes aren't very good.
Don't you need a motion to come out first, Chas?
Well, I opened it back up to public. Doesn't that do the same thing?
Okay, so I will be exit executive session.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay, and we're opening back up to public meeting.
Okay. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so I move that we pause litigation and allow town attorney to work with
MS&G.
MS&G to work on negotiations on this situation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Perfect. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Perfect.
I wasn't part of the executive, but I agree with that.
You couldn't call
I knew
me.
you, Matt, I couldn't get hold, you wouldn't answer.
I think it's because you were on the Zoom call. It just rang.
But Matt, are you okay with that? Because we discussed it yesterday, so. Right?
You know, Matt said he was okay with it.
Okay,
And I'll work with Chris to ensure that the proper stipulation gets filed in the next couple days.
okay, perfect. Cool. Great.
All right, well, thank you very much and good luck the rest of the evening. I used to be on the Wilson Select Board, so I know this time of year is a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, yeah. Yeah.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
Jim. We'll
All
be,
right, bye, everybody.
You can imagine I'm headed to Heinsberg for a playoff basketball game.
oh,
Whoa.
nice.
Skate.
Nice, but I don't know what time I get there.
You'll make it by 7.
At least it's not snowing.
Yeah. The road freeze up really good.
Well, Mr. Neske,
How are ya?
how are you?
How are you?
Terrific.
I know, right? Yes. Okay, guys, so we are now going to discuss town meeting. And the process and the articles and all of that good stuff. Do you want to come up here, Paul?
Yeah.
And then
Where do you want me?
you can, well, do you want a comfy chair? You can sit over here.
Yeah, yeah, have a
Yeah.
couple chairs.
We can share this microphone right here.
So. If you're gonna tell them about the work that Kim did for us.
Oh, should. So Kim graciously found what's that? A script, so to speak, that we can use. I should have printed this. But it kind of gave us some guidelines on the appropriate way to run the meeting. So do you want me to read through the beginning of this, or what do you guys want?
Well, I think that the important thing is to realize that you just are going to tell the people of the changes that are taking place with regards to town meeting procedures. Specifically, admittedly, there's Robert rules. There's been some changes over the years with it, but they're minor in nature. I think they're. So we're gonna go briefly, I'll tell them about that.
Okay.
But the key here is to have them understand that we're gonna adhere to those Robert's rules.
Mhm.
And that because we're lengthy in our time here, we don't want to be belaboring and having people visiting longer than they need to. So specifically, Robert's rule allows for given speakers to speak twice on a given motion. Okay. So we're going to adhere to that. And they limit the duration to no longer than 10 minutes. So we're going to adhere to that as well.
Okay.
Not that in the past they didn't, but some of these issues that are taking place and in today's politics of the day, people might be emboldened to think that they got the floor and the
Yeah.
freedom of speech, talk as long as they want.
Yep.
So they're gonna be told a couple of different places here
Okay.
about the
Process.
process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Inappropriate behavior.
Yes, and on the other hand, they're also gonna be told that the moderator's position is welcomes clearly anybody that thinks that the things are out of order, need to be addressed, or something's amiss, or whatever. So they can speak up freely. There's a specific motion, to pause for a moment. And point of order. We'll deal with those issues as they crop up. I think they're reasonably aware of the fact that there's only one. The first article is being voted on right here.
Right.
All
Yeah.
day long. And this has happened before, so they're familiar with that process.
Right.
The older folks are reasonably familiar with going through the constantness of bringing up every other article by voice vote. It's the younger crowd that is not aware of it.
It's true. Yeah.
So. The only thing I'm concerned with is that we're not prepared, to my knowledge, I've not heard of a recess.
Oh,
Remember those days?
right,
A
Yeah.
recess for lunch,
right.
and we used to go in the,
Have all the
The
yummy
cat-
chili and mac and cheese
cafeteria.
and.
Right?
and do our thing, and no one's mentioned that. And this could be a belabored meeting beyond 12 o'clock. And then the reason for that is, well, there's this discussion of Australian ballot voting here. Are you not gonna do this in the future? Right?
Yeah.
And that could get,
You're right.
there's a division, there's no question. There are people that would flavor it, that everything ought to be by Australian ballot, everything.
Yeah,
And then there are others that would much prefer to be sitting here and visiting and seeing your neighbors and friends and that kind of thing.
I agree.
So
Yep. Okay.
that's why I would have thought that the people that were anxious to do that.
I know.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
But that's how it's gonna have to be.
right.
So if it does come to that point where someone says, you know, we've been here, it's noon, and you're only on article
Right.
whatever. It appears like we're gonna have, at the rate things are going, it looks like another hour or two that we're gonna be here. So I make the motion that we recess for 1 hour while we all go and have lunch. And we have to make up our mind if we're gonna be aggressive to say, well, we can get this done sooner.
I know, it's like, where do we draw that line, right? Like, where would we be? I mean, cause we might go through. The conversation about the Australian ballot, yes, might be a big conversation, but everything else might go like this.
The shortcuts that she's made mention of here will be helpful.
Yeah,
For an example, just a simple thing like when they're voting on motions for nominations, nomination ceased, clerk cast one vote. She's saying you don't need that. Well, you know, you never have.
yeah,
But
right,
But I was coached that way for years, so I did it.
exactly, right,
So we're eliminating the seconds for nominations. They're
yeah,
not necessary. So I'm gonna say that, we're gonna tell them that in
Yeah.
advance. And nominations are, and once there's no other nominees, then I will just make a statement that nominations are therefore now in order for the
Mhm.
election of Chastity for her position as a select board member and all. No objections, all those in favor say aye.
yeah,
And I'm gonna try and remember to say no objections because somebody might have been lurking there to run up to the microphone to make
True.
another nomination.
that's very true, okay, yeah.
So I don't wanna
Mhm.
check, you know, I don't
Don't
wanna
cut anybody off.
eliminate any possibility that,
I agree,
Yeah.
and I've not read anything in the newsprint that's gonna indicate that,
right,
but
yeah. Oh. Oh, is somebody writing?
Yeah, it was Stephen and I.
Oh, okay,
so that's my take on it from a moderator.
who's trying to talk?
Someone's trying to talk?
No, I just muted mine because my kids and wife are leaving, so I
Oh,
Okay.
Okay,
didn't want the background noise.
okay,
For my term being up, am I sitting up on the stage this year, but with my term up, do I sit down or do I still sit up?
No, we sit up there because
You're-
you're still on the select board.
yeah, you're still on the board until the board.
Until the meeting's over
Right,
and somebody is elected and takes the oath.
right, and they don't take the oath that day
Yeah.
necessarily, right, Kim, we have,
And if they come to the office and sign the form,
right,
You could be asked a question specifically concerning issues that you were related to.
right.
Yep.
You're not off the hook yet, Matt.
so Paul,
Yes,
back to the select board and the lister elections, if you will. So if there's more than one nomination for either or for any of those select board or lister spots, then it does have to go to a paper ballot.
that's correct.
And if there's only one nominated, then, that's a voice vote. It doesn't need to go to the paper ballot, right?
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood that.
Yeah.
That's how I read it.
Yeah,
So that's going to save a lot of time when it's only 2 select board seats and 1 lister seat that need to do the paper ballot. And the paper ballot can be time consuming if the time isn't, for lack of a better word, properly managed. Whoever's at the meeting, we want to make sure they all get through the line, but sometimes we need to prod them to, come forward if you haven't already, cast your ballot, that kind of thing.
right.
Have to be.
The key to getting that done efficiently is if the Board of Civil Authority are prepared to have people to count. And usually the moderator has made notations as to who made the nomination for so-and-so and who made it for the opponent, let's say.
Yeah.
And so I commonly would pick them to be counters as well. Somebody from that side that spoke for them that seconded or whatever, you try and do that. But I have faith in any event that if those folks from the are gonna be abreast of the situation that they will be asked to count.
So I think that they should be called forward and be observers, but they're not BCA members, so they shouldn't participate in the counting.
Right, but they
But
need,
they absolutely be, given the opportunity to come forward and observe the BCA tallying those ballots for those, nominations.
so somebody needs to be in attention at the ballot box.
Yep. Yep. Well, I've already asked all of the JPs, as many JPs to be there as possible. So the select board members can count the ballots if they aren't being nominated. So for example, if Susan's nominated, then Susan can't count. But the other board members, who aren't nominated can count. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, if we have everybody helping at the times that they're not part of the nomination for that seat, then I think that'll help.
I think if you've done your, put them on notice, they're reasonably aware of it.
Yeah.
I looked at the list again and they're all veterans.
Right.
So I appreciate, once again, I'll say it for the record here that I'm here. I told you, I sent you a note. I was very appreciative. And Chastity did too. I know.
Yes.
We're thankful for your work on our behalf to help us and prepare us in advance in the manner and method you did.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Very much so.
So I will email the document to the rest of the select board just so that they have it. I didn't know if Chastity or Paul would have any, changes of any kind, additions or deletions from the document before tonight. So if everything is good as it is, then I'll just email it out to the rest of the board tomorrow morning when I get back to the office.
So the only question I had, a simple one, but when you get to an article and you're voting on justices of the peace, I'm looking at that one, Article 3 here, and it said the motion by, called the question, and then the action P or F.
Pass or fail?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But I had to think about that for a minute.
Well, brought me back to school.
I never called it that.
What do you call it?
I don't even know what I call it.
Oh.
Fail. You didn't fail to win. We're more gentle with it than that.
So, because Paul brought up that article, just so that the select board is aware when it gets to that article, and Paul is aware, that article is there because Hyde Park has the actual population from the last census has exceeded 3,000. And according to the Constitution that's cited in that article, we, the voters, can approve adding 2 more JPs to the number that we elect. So we currently elect 10. This would allow us to elect 12, and that would start with the November 2026 election. And that's why that's there.
Okay.
No, that's not mandatory that it be 12, it's just that it can be.
Correct. It is not mandatory. It's allowable and at voter discretion.
Oh, okay.
We always have more on the ballot, though, right? Okay.
So yes, if we allow 12, then there can be 12 Democrats and 12 Republicans listed, and then anybody else running as independent, and then vote for not more than 12.
So what year did they take that census from?
The last one, 2020.
2020.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That sneeze reminded me of this, somewhere, they were talking about, the great diversity of politics from, religion. And it interspersed itself over the years. It was getting really testy at these town meetings. And so somebody stood up and made a motion that there'd be no mention about religion or anything at this meeting, and they all agreed to it. And so the salutatorian, I think it was a school board, and so the salutatorian got up to speak. And when he's all prepared to do this, he got up there and he took out his handkerchief real quick and he sneezed. And so 2 or 3 people were sitting right in the front row, said, "God bless you." And so they had their prayer that they weren't allowed to do.
That's right. Yep. Oh, that's funny. Okay, I don't know, does anybody?
So excuse me, did you hear us talking, Kim, about a recess?
I did, and I didn't put one in there. Only because I think if we're gonna do one, I think it's gonna be an as it happens kind of a thing. We don't know how long it's gonna take to go through, the select board paper ballot, hypothetically, if that happens, and potentially a paper ballot for the listers. For all we know, those things will go pretty quick, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what kind of discussion is going to happen on, everything. I think there's going to be some on the articles to go to Australian ballot. Yep. But I have no sense. I've not heard anything from anybody. I have no sense of how many people may be in attendance. So if we have a large turnout, wonderful. That will lead to longer discussions on those articles. But I don't know. I don't have a sense of it this year. I think if we go to a recess, we look at the clock at 10 o'clock and where are we? Are we halfway through the articles? Then maybe we keep going. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a 2-hour town meeting, and past ones have been 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't need to break it 2 hours.
No,
Yeah.
no, we could.
So I think it's going to be a call it as we are moving through it. You know what I mean? Does that kind of make sense or no?
Well, I was planning on it, and I made mention just so to say, if you had heard anything.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Thank you.
One other question. You had this first page that you gave Chastity and I to kind of go by, kind of a.
Yeah.
So we have the welcome, and then just a general discussion about who's here, where we're seating, and then we get down to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
And then we recognize other dignitaries who might be there, obviously, the question, Bailey, Noyce.
Right.
Usual
Whoever's there,
routine
right.
there. And then we brought the meeting to order. But actually, we just brought the people to order. The actual meeting itself is then declared to be in order.
Correct.
That's how you'd like to?
Well, so it's not that that's how I would like it. I used that format because there were quite a few scripts, if you will, that other clerks around the state shared. And a lot of them were formatted the same way. And I think one of the clerks looked at it as, for example, Chastity and Paul, you've got the document. That page 1 is more of like a, okay, everybody, come on into the auditorium. We're going to get started. Here's the housekeeping things. And then, as soon as you get through that, then you're going to call the meeting to order.
I like it.
So
because
we can absolutely change it, but that's the only reason I set it up like that. I kind of looked at it as, let's get to the housekeeping and then let's get the meeting started.
it's a good way to do it. It then brings a point that we're here for business.
Right.
Gavel again.
Yeah.
So I don't do the housekeeping, you do the housekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, I mean, I know it says that, but I guess originally I was thinking that I did the housekeeping stuff, so to speak, but that's good you're doing it. But when don't I need to elect Paul as the moderator?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's the first thing that's gonna happen.
So Paul's going to read through everything on page 2, which is like, these are the select board members, are the finance directors here, the warnings on these pages, blah, 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 go through, that kind of stuff. And then the last thing he'll say is, well, he's going to now move to conduct the traditional open session of the town meeting. And the first order of business is to elect the moderator. Chair of the select board, Chastity Fayant, will proceed with the election of the moderator. At that point, you take over for that brief election and then turn it back over to Paul. So your part comes at the top of page 3.
Yep, I saw that. I was just a little confused, but now I understand the process. Okay.
So the only other thing it's of import here, and you did well to make note of those. We're adhering to Robert's rules. But there's some things that Robert's rules that we abide by that aren't in existence. So they're Vermont rules. State of Vermont law dictates certain things and procedures that we have to use. So it's not Robert's rules. And so Kim made notice of those here for us.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody out there that's a
stickler.
Every now and then, there's somebody there that knows Robert's rules a whole lot better than I do. And so.
Paul, are you okay with all of that in there?
I'm thrilled.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, this is good.
I mean, I threw that in there kind of more for me. I did take a parliamentary class, and that was in 2017. And in case somebody asked, I wanted to have that in front of me. So I didn't know if I didn't want to step on toes.
The other thing I think it's important too is, and you made mention of it here on page 3, when we started the meeting, that the moderator's position, and I'm explaining Robert's rules and some of the Vermont issues. But their addresses should be to the moderator from the floor. And oftentimes what happens is the moderator loses his chair and his microphone when the select board is continually being peppered with questions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one thing I really would like to see us do this year is that where you have your chair and you have your microphone, then you stay there. If I vacate that podium, I've lost it. And I found that to be the case many times where, and I'm not blaming anybody on the select board, but it wasn't just them. Whoever was asked a question, sometimes I would lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd have to get it all back again. And so the people notice that, and so they just start looking over there. They don't direct their question here. So every town meeting, the first thing I ask of the select board before we even attend is who's going to be responsible for answering the questions when it comes to vote articles. Here, somebody inquires about one of them, the finances of they're getting into the budget and they want to talk specifically about the highway, or they want to talk about the contract with the sheriff or whatever. sometimes I like to know who that is, so I
Sure.
can direct it to them, and I expect that they would answer the question.
I think, because Jen, our finance director, is gonna be there, confirmed with her. And I think if there's super specific questions about the budget, since she put it together, I may look to her.
Okay.
You know, as to, you know, explain if it's a deep question. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you want to each take a section if a certain question comes up, or? Those look like a no answer, right? They both looked at me. I wish you
Right.
guys could see the looks on their
Oh, I
faces.
This is my first town meeting and it's.
Oh,
scared.
true.
I'm
Don't be
scared.
scared. Don't be
Yeah, but it's gonna be, this is like a different one and I'm like.
No, it'll be
No.
fine. It'll be fine, yeah.
Why don't we tell her that if, so that she's probably reasonably versed in.
Yes,
in
I
the
will
internet
talk to her.
method. This is not gonna excite her one way or another.
Right,
She has to
right.
say.
You know, if specific questions come up about, you know, our relationship with the sheriff's department, so to speak,
Right.
or the ambulance, or, I mean, they've been the same for years, but if they do, you know, I'm happy to speak on that part of it, you know, and the relationships we have.
Yeah, or
You know?
no, it's perfect, all right, you know,
You know,
if somebody wants, it says, oh, they'd like to add something.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not that.
But for specific budget, I think I would prefer to go to Jen, but I will confirm with her that she's okay with that. But that would be good.
So the good news about all this is too, there's nothing to do with the school here.
I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's always the good part, right?
Yeah.
Attention, and so the budget this year for the town is held down to $1 as I understand it.
It always is, yeah.
So I don't see anything there.
Yeah.
And there doesn't appear to be anything now other than that, a $22,000 expenditure or something at the fire department. or
Right,
Yeah, right.
something.
exactly.
So I don't see anything of any consequence.
No, I mean, and we did the informational meeting for the fire department. Nobody showed up,
That's
so,
what I hear.
Which is what usually happens.
which
Yeah.
is frustrating,
Right.
but it is what it is. Well, Eddie Webster came, you know, chief. But that was it. So,
So the only contentious things are emitting from EPA with regards to stormwater, use of salt. Now it's risen its ugly head again.
absolutely, yep.
So that's a question that might appear. So if there's someone on your.
Yeah, no, we're in good shape with salt.
Well, and we
Leaders in
use,
the
and we
state,
have the
right?
brine, we
Well,
use the brine, so.
French has got himself written in the book.
Exactly, exactly,
He's the leader of that pack. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. I was so pleased for him, young man like that,
yeah,
took the initiative. to,
Yeah, yeah.
Research it out.
absolutely,
Now he's telling all the other towns how to do it.
exactly, yeah,
Quite pleased for him.
yeah.
If that comes up, will Mark or Ryan be there to speak on that?
Ryan will be,
Okay,
yeah, and he's the one that runs it, so yeah, he
yeah,
would
okay.
get to speak on that.
You know how
Good
much he
point.
loves to speak in front of people.
Yeah.
Love
He'll
that.
love that,
You'd love that.
but yeah, so if that does come up, I can direct,
Yeah.
you know,
Right,
if you,
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely.
So Paul,
Yes,
for Article 3 and Article 10, what number is it? And 11. If there are questions, I can answer those at the meeting because I'm the one that like deals with, well, I'm the one that put that on there for the BCA, and then I'm the one that deals with all the tax stuff when the time comes.
okay, Kim, thank you.
Yeah.
So where would? So what I'm gonna do then on any other financial or issues of the town, we'll work together.
Yeah,
You'll know, like you just suggested.
absolutely,
Ryan, for
yep,
example,
yep,
that'll save me a lot of headache.
yeah, I'll look to you and help you. And have a little code.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
I do-
exactly.
I do have a last little tidbit that I always knew it, but like seeing it in writing today was like, oh yeah. So I did hear Nicole say, being nervous about town meeting. I asked VLC a question on behalf of one of the select board members. And so number one, if anybody wants to nominate, any of the select board members wants to nominate somebody for a position during the meeting, you are a voter of the town. You absolutely can nominate somebody while you're at the table. I kind of assumed that, but I just wanted to verify it.
But that's a good question, because
Yeah.
you do feel like you can't necessarily participate in a
Yeah.
weirdly way, if that makes sense. So
So as the follow-up comment to that, the LCT reminded me that, this is not the select board's meeting. This is the town's meeting, and the moderator is running the meeting. You are there in the capacity of voters. And yes, some of those voters may have questions and you may have to answer them.
right.
But you have the same rights as every other voter there. So there's going to be pressure on you to answer some of those questions, but if you think of it in terms of this isn't your meeting, it's the town's meeting being, run by the moderator. I think that relieves a little bit of that pressure, in my opinion. I'm not a select board member, so I think it might relieve a little bit of that pressure.
Yeah. Okay. Have any more questions for us?
Not right now. No, but it's,
Okay.
you bring the goodies with you at town meeting?
We can, since this is gonna be a longer one.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to have donuts and coffee. Kim, can you think of anything else? Oh, I do. I had a question for you, actually. You're gonna have the process for the ballot, if it needs to go to ballot, you're gonna have that all ready and
Oh yeah,
organized, and you'll
I've got
tell us if you need us, kind of thing.
Yep, I've got an entire box of cut up little scraps of paper.
Okay.
All the golf pencils that are sanitized and left over from COVID. And
Okay.
so, if a paper ballot is called, Paul will give the instructions that, he'll call down the BCA and the select board, and, people will line up. They're going to have to show their hand stamp. They'll get one piece of paper and one pencil, and they're going to write down a name, and they're going to put it in a ballot box until everybody's done that. So, yeah.
They're gonna come down and get the paper. We're not gonna have people search.
So the BCA, hopefully there's enough of them. I will give them a pile of the scraps, and they can walk to the people who are in line. And as long as those people in line have the stamp on their hand, they can give them a pencil and one of the scraps of paper so that they can write on their ballot as they're waiting.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that they only get one scrap of paper.
Oh. Right.
So when we do it that very first time, why don't I turn it over to you, Kim, so you can explain all that?
Okay.
And then you can say that from now on, this is how we're gonna do each one of them.
Right.
Yep.
And then it'll go smoother as the day goes on, as the morning goes on, I should say.
Yeah.
Good. Is there anything I need to know? Other than,
You tell us. We don't
We're
tell
gonna be in
you.
charge, so, you just tell us what to do.
That's right.
well, right now. I'm
We
in your-
appreciate
I'm
you.
in your house right now.
I know. Well, thank you very much,
You're
Paul.
welcome.
We will see you
Thank
in
you,
a
Kim.
week. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay. Grant Watch. Hey, Ron. Does he just have us on? I don't know if you guys saw, he sent the grant.
Yeah.
update.
He's out sitting on the veranda,
Right, exactly.
relaxing in Florida, right?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. I do have a report for you.
Yes, thank you.
I did not get any questions ahead of time, but we can report a couple things. And some of these are, for select board purposes, it's your priority. So don't think that whoever's managing your projects should place their own priority. So that can get a little convoluted. Sometimes the board will go ahead and say, let's go for that grant, let's get it, let's move on it. Sometimes you turn it over to a project manager, town administrator, and they just keep plugging away, which is what I've been doing. If the town for some reason changes priorities, you have total control over that as well. So, you don't have to, see these to the end. You don't have to think that they're non-changeable. For example, let's say you started getting grief on something from the public. You can always revisit these things. So the select board does hold that kind of power. Sometimes you forget about that because you're just hoping these things get done at some point and get off this big list. But certainly don't feel like it's something you don't have any control over to amend. Some grants are commitments with landowners and a lot of reasons why you're doing the project, either through the town plan or your own promises to people, et cetera. So that isn't done lightly, but I didn't want to, when I say here's the updates, these are just projects that are going through the process with the assumption and prior, statements from the board that the town wanted to see these things concluded. So going down the list, we have, I don't know, about 13, I didn't count them lately, 14 or 15 projects that are active. The right now, the first project, which has been our oldest project, goes all the way back to 2005, is the West Main Street Ravine Sinkhole Project. That finally got through a VTrans right-of-way hurdle, which took over 18 months. And that is now back to the town attorney. Town attorney has to finish up some deed packages. And at that point, the town will need to decide who approaches the 4 landowners. So that's a positive thing. I think David is just jammed right now, so he wasn't able to turn the packages around very quickly, but that's where that is. Before the project starts, you also need northern long-eared bat clearance, which means that any of the trees being cut have to be inspected by the state wildlife biologist for bat habitat. So that's a new condition of the federal money. This is a priority question for you. We do have a project, 10 Ben's Beer Culvert, which is a reconstruction of the intersection of East Main Street and Route 15, including the entrances to the resource building and the beer brewery. That project is almost ready to be what they call project ready or shovel ready, but it does need somebody to work on the 2 easements. And I think there are 2 different landowners that I think it's MSI and RV. So if you wanted to bring those to totally ready to go, that's one project that has some time because you have no funding for the project itself. But if you wanted to sign the staff member, Steve McDonald was going to do it once. I don't know if that's still an option. Justin was interested last year in maybe doing easements. The town attorney said that, they would definitely, send somebody out. But some of these things, when you're dealing with landowners, are just better done with the town staff member.
Yeah, I agree.
So just let me know what your priority is in that, because certain things have to happen. But, right now it's sort of on hold. The bike ped, that's getting busy. The steering committee increased from 3 to 4 a couple weeks ago. We're looking for a 5th member, and that's the bike river shore study along Guyan River up in North Hyde Park. So if there's anybody still out there in the public that wants to join, Chastity's on that for the select board, and Dale and Valerie and a new resident up at in North Hyde Park have agreed. Trying to do a kickoff meeting in the next week or two, at least on the administrative side, so we can set some timelines for that project.
Has anyone else signed up or reached out?
Yeah, the person that bought Liz Courtney's house up there, she lives across the street from the guy in Valley Hall. She put Nicole, she put her name in the hat to join the project steering committee.
Okay, since she lives right there, so.
Yeah, yep. And she was referred to the project by Liz. So she got some history from North Hyde Park, I'm sure. The NEPA review, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but that's the federal environmental review is holding up the rail trailhead reconstruction project, along with the safety improvements on Depot Street and Depot Street extension. So as soon as that comes through, which pretty much everybody at the federal level is not able to commit to any timelines right now. And you've heard about it in the news. So that is having an impact on these kind of reviews and approvals and funding approvals. And, even the 10 Bends project that Lamoille County Conservation District's been working with the neighbors down there, floodplain restoration the funding's been held. So Vermont Emergency Management said continue on as if it's not held, but we don't know when that money's going to be released for that project. Let's see, the next one is the cleanup of the house that was torn down. I think that's a spring project up at North Hyde Park at the intersection of 100C. Steve was handling that. Federal hold again on the 10 Bends, just mentioned that. The requisition process is going through on the municipal planning grant. That was the consortium with Stowe and Cambridge. I think Chastity is going to or did jump in and help with that, because somebody from the town has to be authorized to push buttons at the state website. Ideally, that would be a town administrator, but in the interim, it's the select board chair.
I'm doing it all, don't worry.
I know.
Right.
Yeah, right.
The two roadside slumps are completed, waiting for a final as-built drawing in the spring, and then that'll be done by Watershed Consulting. That'll be done and can be closed out fully in the spring. So that's a sort of closed by June 30 goal, totally done all within fiscal year 25. And the last project is just the historic preservation review of the 3 town buildings. That's required within, I want to say 90 days, I think, of the time that you all signed the grant, which was the end of December. So I think that has to happen by the end of March. Regional planning, I think it's Megan, I think, at regional planning has agreed to try to move that along. Again, all these projects need a local town rep. So that is one of these sort of transitional things as you make your decisions on town administrator, which ones go to regional planning, which ones get transferred, who's going to oversee all this stuff and report to you. So that is the end of the report. Any questions?
No, sir.
All righty, we will carry on.
Get that report. That's very, very helpful.
Yeah, some of the multi-year reports are really, I mean, if I didn't do that report, I would lose track of where everything was. So.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, do you guys have any questions for Ron?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, you can hang out with us, Ron, if you want, but if not, you can go enjoy the warm weather. So Jen had no finance memo for us tonight. Did you guys all have a chance to look at the warrants?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, do you want to make a motion for those?
I make a motion that we approve the warrants.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain.
I'm gonna abstain because I haven't looked at them.
Yep. Sounds
Hold
good.
on, wait a second.
I know you gotta write that down.
I moved it.
Yep. There wasn't a line there for that. Um,
This new note taker.
Seconded by your Susan. Great, okay. For Justin.
That's what he gets for going on vacation.
Okay.
Someone.
State Matt, good. Okay, next. Highway.
Okay, the grader. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look through all that lovely information that Jen did for us, and it's in the packet again this week.
Oh, it is.
So let's discuss that. And Mark, do you have anything to add? Speak on, etc.?
I just want to say that on our grader, the moldboard is showing a lot of wear
The what mode?
and a
What?
replacement. The moldboard, so the blade
Okay.
won't tighten all the way up. It's we put new slides in it, but it's still showing a lot of wear, which is $20,000 replacement, and it is showing a lot of surface rust. Still there?
Yep.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay.
Matt, I know you were really wanting to look over the finance information. Did you have any other questions?
I guess I was going back to Jen thing. I had sent a couple comments on it. Just, I was more interested, like something I had mentioned to Mark, just obviously when we start looking at our 5, 6, 7 year equipment response, and we can't have a zero line item there. You know, our equipment fund can't be close to zero. It can't even be 550,000 in my opinion. So there's a bunch of questions that I think that we need to just make sure that we're looking at and talk with Jen about what happens if we push one or two of them out. What does go on? Like, I know Mark's comments were almost, without me even looking at the original comments, were almost the same, like pushing the backhoe out a year or 2 or 3, or what does that do? I don't know. And yeah, so
I agree with you. I'm nervous about it being, if we really follow this plan, we're gonna be really low in the future.
well, and what it doesn't show, sorry Savannah, sorry to interrupt you, but if you start looking the year beyond that, if you start looking at a cycle, if we start looking at an ROI on a cycle, your return on investments, and you start running one full cycle, we fall behind, and it doesn't show that in that, but you go negative really quick when you start replacing stuff beyond that cycle right there. And that scares me.
So you're saying don't wait?
No, I'm saying we got to figure out how we're going to balance a budget before we're going to spend money that we don't have.
Okay. My concern, sorry,
No, go ahead.
my concern is, like, we have a loan out right now for the excavator and the trailer already for the town.
Correct.
So if we add another loan,
Yep.
that's my concern.
And then there's the devil's advocate side here. The other side is when you start pushing stuff, then you get yourself in trouble, right? So it's like, we've got to find the balance between making sure we're staying on the capital schedule without, pushing stuff down the road. And then all of a sudden we've got to replace a truck, and we've got to replace a grader, and we got to replace this. And so we just I think we really need to be careful about that capital plan and making sure that it's in line. Mark, you and Jen looked at that a little bit, didn't you?
Yep. And I think we pushed Ryan's truck out 1 year to make things balance.
Yeah.
Balance a little bit.
Well, that was in our last package, Chas, and that's what I'm saying. They only looked ahead 6 years. Now run a cycle on it and you fall behind.
Right.
I'm totally, I'm not biased on I'm not saying that we don't buy it. I just want to make sure that we're cautiously enough. My opinion on Ryan knows, or Mark knows it way more than me as far as what our equipment looks like. But if we go down a truck, how screwed are we, versus if we go down a grader, our grader only has 4,000 hours on it. And so that on a 15-year grader, that tells me we're running about 280 hours a year, which is not a lot of hours. So if you're running 280 hours a year, 40 hours a week on average, or whatever it would be, we could rent a grader for $9 to $10 a month if we got ourselves in trouble.
Right.
That being said, I don't think we could run a truck or, I just don't, just questions and things we need to make sure we're answering. I don't.
No,
Yeah.
that's why we have a discussion.
Or the other thing is making sure we get hard numbers is what, John Deere offered us trade-in on that grader, but one of the first things I did was I looked up on Auto Trader, and graders that are 15 years older than what our grader was going for more money than what they offered us. I did talk with Eben over at Johnson, and he said they got 130,000 for an outright sale. So I don't know if we want to look at advertising our grader before we're looking at buying. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's a thought.
And if we can pick up an extra $70,000 on the sale, that
Absolutely.
helps our ROI a lot more than taking a $70,000, $60,000 trade in.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Mark, had you considered selling outright or?
The first meeting, remember I mentioned that.
Okay,
Johnson
no, I,
got like 130,000. And well, I knew the board, what the board wanted to do, but I thought it'd be smart to try to sell it outright.
sure, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, I know, and in terms of putting money aside, every year as we get down to the budget, where we save money is by not putting money in those funds. If we should be putting in, 30,000, we put in 20,000. That's sort of always where we make up the difference, so it isn't too much of a tax increase, which for that year may help, but long-term does not help. And I don't pretend to, and this is where Matt, again, your experience with equipment and, and Mark's as well, but it doesn't sound like there are a lot of hours on that grader. And do we, okay, so it needs a new blade, 20,000. That's not bad. And again, you're saying it's showing some rust, but is that just surface rust? Is there something not taking care of it? And if it isn't, how come we don't take better care of the equipment when you know it's out all the time? I'm really, and the cost of equipment just keeps going up and up. And you swap in a bunch of tariffs and it's going to continue to go up and up. That, we need to take, and again, it's finding that line, that balance. But we need to take good care of our equipment and I think get as much time out of it as we can. That's one thing you got to give the fire department credit for.
So I think that it's,
yeah.
I think that it's not taking care of it. I think it's 15 years in Vermont. You can't keep it looking brand new unless you guys want to paint it every year, which Hyde Park's never painted their equipment. We paint our trucks every year, but we've never gone into the equipment part.
Yeah.
Never have. So I don't know if that's something you want to change.
Oh,
And
right.
start painting a grader and a loader every single year in the backhoe and stuff, but that's going to get pretty expensive as well.
Yeah.
But 15 years, in Vermont it's starting to show some rust.
Sure. Okay, well, it sounds like everyone's still on the fence and still wanting more information. Am I gathering those thoughts from people?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know what else I want for information. I just don't have any, I don't know. I don't feel which way is right or wrong.
we don't even know if the town's going to pass the budget yet, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think we need to wait till, I think we need to wait
I'm not saying we need to wait a year, but I think we need to wait a month. If this budget, if we got to start making a hard cut, or if it doesn't pass, we've got bigger decisions to make.
Yeah, valid.
And again, I'm all about, Mark had mentioned this, maybe we put this thing out to sale, start, at least we can talk with Jen and say, okay, what do we need to get for this thing to make the money work? And I'd like to see a cycle run on that capital investment plan, not just look at 6 years ahead saying that, okay, yeah, we pushed Mark's truck out 1 year. But if you start looking at that capital investment plan, like we already pushed Ryan's truck out a year, whatever it is, if you do a swing on it, or at least when I did, I started falling negative, and that's where I was like, oh boy. But I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Okay, well. Mark, do you have anything more to add? I know you're just listening to us.
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. I think we've come to the conclusion
We wait till.
yeah, at
We'll see
least
how
wait,
voters
yeah,
feel.
we'll see how the voters feel and, maybe get some more information on the capital plan idea, the selling, the potential of selling the grader to get more money. So a lot of different scenarios that we can still work on.
Okay.
And talk about it again. If that
All
works.
right. That works.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Have a good night.
You too. Okay, so Justin's not here. I don't know if you guys have any updates. If you do on the newsletter, just shoot him an email because he's on vacation. The certificate of appeal, I have these all in front of me, and we need to make a motion to approve these from the listers. There it is, and you can look at them, and we need to sign them as well.
Yeah, we need a motion. PBR, okay,
Yeah.
okay, here we go, and this is here. You got it? You're talking off? Okay.
It's like I know what you're gonna say.
Wow, okay, what am I gonna say?
Oh,
Shoot. The motion to sign the PVR 4155, 3 to 5 certificates of no appeal for 2024, 2022, 2021, and 2020. The grand list.
I'll second it.
okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, now we'll sign that.
Sign in some place just to do.
After everybody signs that, if you could just leave it on the table and I'll come down tomorrow to get it, because I've got
Okay.
to do.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, the minutes. You guys have time to take a peek at those?
February.
I'll make a motion to
11th?
pass the minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Why
abstained.
does it say February 11th, but these in the packet say February 25th?
Oh, it really is the 25th. It's wrong on the agenda.
Okay.
Yep, so
I'm
let's,
still, that's why I'm so
Yep.
confused. I'm like, where?
yep, you're right. So we'll
No.
make a change.
Not.
No?
At the back of the packet, there's
Oh.
something dated the 20 or the 11th.
Great,
Oh,
it
yeah,
is
okay,
the
I'm in the wrong
25th.
spot.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Had gone
Jeez,
for enough.
Nicole, I'm like, wait, you're right. It is the 25th.
Today's the 25th. Got it.
Okay.
Never mind.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I wrote in the wrong spot.
Did I
Oh,
sign that?
no.
Did you get it? I didn't even. I didn't even-
Oh, No, you're not a lister, just move it over.
Just move it over. Kim can fix it.
Okay, great.
Nicole can't be trusted to sign.
I can't.
As long as I don't have to forge a signature.
No, no. Yeah, you have to sign all the pages.
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay,
Just take it a minute.
I didn't sign all the-
so the town administrator position, I'm just gonna move it. Because we're gonna jump into executive session and then we'll do that at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
So the select board regular and organizational meeting. So I put this on here because normally, since I've been on the board, we did the organizational meeting the night after town meeting, which is so silly to me and it's not necessary. So I would like to propose that we just do the organizational meeting at the March 11th meeting, which is the following Tuesday from town meeting, instead of adding another meeting to our yet busy schedule. We don't,
makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought so
Yeah,
too,
just say,
like,
here's when we're doing it.
yeah, so we don't need a
No.
motion or anything, but I just wanted to get, unless you guys disagreed.
That's
with
gonna
me,
be March 11th.
which is our regular
Okay.
regular scheduled meeting as it is, and that'll just be our organizational meeting from the town meeting, possible changes, so.
And that's at 5:30?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Okay, we don't, and then the old coming, we don't need to do anything. Did you get the contract for negotiations?
Mhm. I didn't get the contract, no.
Oh, so we don't need to do anything with that tonight, right? Cause were we waiting? Or no, do we need to?
No, because we don't have anything.
No, we don't, yeah, we're waiting.
We're waiting, so we
Yeah.
don't need to go into,
We're good, they.
okay,
Just.
so we're just waiting.
Just
Okay,
waiting.
then we'll hold, we don't need to go into executive for
Okay.
that. Okay.
Wait a second, let me update that.
Nope, sure.
This is, what am I talking about? Contracts, okay, I'm just putting a red note here. We can, don't. Okay,
So if I could have a motion for us to just zoom upstairs, for executive session for personnel via safe.
Is
Oh,
this the one where we have to say that we recognize we need this first?
oh, I don't know, what Justin give us?
Yeah, right here. Okay, so.
Can we just turn them all off?
We don't know how to do that.
I think I.
Oh, did Alex jump off? Why did he jump off? Who we're gonna talk about?
Oh, geez, sorry. I thought that's the new name we gotta get, you gotta get used to.
Oh, there's directions on how to do it.
There we go, okay, right, don't make me do those steps again.
Oh, true, true.
We can go in the back.
Well, let's do the you gotta do the
See
motion
that,
before you
girl.
do anything. We need to make the
Okay,
motion.
I'll
and
go
then-
into executive session.
Correct.
So,
To,
I move we go into executive session per 1 VSA 313 for labor related
Personnel.
personnel. With just the select board?
Yep.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye,
Okay, opposed, abstained. Okay, so now we can, did he give you the directions on how to stop the recording?
Good
Yeah.
night.
Night, Kim,
Night,
thank
Donna.
you.
You're welcome.
You too.
Oh, I have to do this?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, what if I mess this up? I can admit people, but I have to do this.
Matt, you can stay on.